Hello, I'm Bear Wiseman, fantasy writer and notorious geek. And today I'm having a gathering of geeks with none other than Felipe from Frosttide, keyboardist extraordinaire, and as I have heard, geek.
Geek, as you have heard by sources. Yeah, hello, thank you for having me here.
Hey guys, this is Bear Wiseman here. Just wanted to let you know that this episode starts a little bit in media res with me saying that I'm going to segue in really nicely because we started the episode for the first 30 minutes or so talking about COVID because this episode was recorded at the beginning of the pandemic and about making albums. So I've cut that part out. It'll be in bonus features somewhere on my YouTube channel at some point, but I just wanted to let you know that there's going to be a bit of a weird cold intro into this where it sounds like I'm coming out of nowhere. That's all. Thanks for listening. Bye.
I can segue this perfectly because one of the things when I've only done one of these interviews before now, actually, so far, and we did Gathering of Geeks with Silver Bullet in person. I think within a month or two of before Corona set in. And I had been really enthusiastic because, I've got all this nerdy stuff in my house I can use for backdrops and props. So I was really amped to get people to, come in live and hang out. But what these actually streamed interviews offer is we can get a look at your nerd den in your own house now. So
yeah, exactly. That is the kind of the great thing that we can kind of show our own world and our own layers. That where do we like to hang around?
Yeah.
We want to have some peace,
Absolutely. With geeks in general, we love to have a nerd den. You gotta surround yourself with stuff that inspires you and triggers something within you. So
it is true.
They may kind of seem like, I don't know, commercial, like just buying things, but in a lot of ways, I at least feel like my nerd den is almost more like a zen space for myself that
exactly
these are the things around me that inspire me and make me feel creative and aware and things like that.
Yeah, that's very true. I think many collectors tend to think that way. At least all the people that I know that I have met, they agree with the same idea that your collection is a source of kind of brings peace and kind of relaxation, even though that is you have to take care of so much stuff. but
dusting is the worst.
Yeah, exactly. Like for example, myself, I think I have been going a little bit overboard with my collection, but it has been years of collecting. Yeah, I have pretty much everything that I have wanted to have during my childhood and teens. So I think in one way, for many that I have heard, is that kind of like your collection evokes memories. I think for many of us, we have had very nice childhoods. Like when we were growing up, and these items that we have were part of our childhood and they evoke memories.
Absolutely.
So then having them around, then it brings that kind of safe space. That kind of oh yeah, like seeing this kind of, for me in the case of the action figures, and it's yeah, kind of I remember my childhood, and it's yeah, those were good times. It's nice to have these guys because these were my company when I was a kid. They were my buddies. So then it's to have them here with me. Then it's yeah, it is good. It's cool to have them it brings happy thoughts. So in that sense,
Absolutely. And yeah, like you're only really getting a very tiny view of what's in this room right now,
yeah,
unfortunately.
exactly.
Some of this stuff is brand new, like, this really kick-ass album
Brand new.
right here. Just only, a year or two old, but some of this stuff,
Yeah,
I actually don't know where this little Mario Kart guy comes from. My
I
mom
have seen those.
my mom has a lot of, she used to go to garage sales and stuff, and
Yeah,
she'd buy, like antique kind of McDonald's toys and stuff. They were kind of
yeah.
valuable collector toys, and every once in a while McDonald's had paired up with Nintendo for a release. So this might have been a McDonald's toy. It's one of those ones where you pull it and it, whoops, I drop it.
Oops.
It zips on its own. But
Yeah, exactly.
this has been around me since I was a child, probably. So
All right.
there's
Yeah, that's probably like a happy.
all around.
Yeah, it's probably a Happy Meal
Something
like
like that.
item. Yeah, I love Mario. Super Mario is great. Like the Mario Brothers. But yeah, I haven't got any of those in my collection. But I love the games. Like, and I love Mario Kart.
Well,
But me myself, being more of a PlayStation person, then I haven't had so many Nintendo games.
fair enough. What
No, but I love Nintendo. It's great.
yeah, what age did you start kind of getting into nerdy stuff, like cartoons, video games, stuff like that?
It was very little. I would have been probably like seven or yeah, even younger, probably between 5 and 7, I would say. It was 1994, 1995. So yeah, between 6 and 7 years. Yeah, I think that's the most accurate. So I think I can try to move my camera here. Let's see if I don't break anything. So I can give you a tour if I'm allowed to switch my camera. Let's see. Do we succeed? Okay, so yes, there we go. So yeah, just a little bit telling. So in 1994, in Chile came this series that it was a huge success in TV. It was called Saint Seiya. It's a Japanese anime. And it was a huge boom with that. So these figurines that you see over here, these were the first items that I started to collect.
Incredible.
Yeah, these are like originally made in 1987.
Wow.
In Japan. So then these were released, but this is kind of like a childhood dream become true for me, because these 5 characters that we have here, these were never released in the South American market.
Wow.
So the ones that we have here, these ones over here, these ones we had in Chile and in South America everywhere. Let's see if it has, there we go.
Okay.
So so each represents a sign of the zodiac. So you have like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo,
Is
Libra,
Ophiuchus in there, or do they have the 13th or not?
No, but they have now, the series is still going, and they have included now Ophiuchus there.
Okay, wild.
But these are all like from 1987, so or 1988. So they're more older than I am actually. So I have to, But yeah, those ones were the. Let me see. I will switch the camera again. Those ones were the inception to collecting. So I remember that I had those as a kid, and I was just obsessed with those. Everybody was. So until we got a puppy, and then that puppy ate half of my collection, and that was the end of it.
So is Saint Seiya actually related to Dragon Ball in some way then, or is it a different show completely? I've never
It's a different show completely. It's a totally different show. It is like but the same kind of thematic of characters fighting against evil and stuff. So, but they are totally separated realms.
Okay.
But in South America, Dragon Ball and Saint Seiya, they were like the 2 dominant animes. around like in our country and most of South America. And I think in North America, I think Dragon Ball was huge.
Yeah, I don't know if we had Saint Saiyan actually. I don't know it by name, but of course
We got them very late,
remember Dragon
and you got them, and they were under the name of Knights of the Zodiac.
Okay, I don't think I ever watched it, but yeah, I do know the name now.
Yeah. But yeah, so I started between 6 and 7 years. So those were the first figurines that I ever started collecting, and then we switched. I got to know Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z actually. So that was between 97, yeah, around year 1997. So then I started. This is like my favorite part of my collection and probably the most important figurines of my collection. But so this is the entire like original Dragon Ball Z like first line of figurines, of action figurines that they released ever in Japan. So this is the Super Battle collection, and these were designed between 1991 and 1993.
So do you have them all? Do you have doubles of them, or are
Yes.
just some of them on display? So do you have all of them like in the box and on display, or are some of them?
Yeah, no, only the first 10 volumes I have them on box and display.
Wow.
Because these Japanese editions are really, really rare. So especially this 3-pack, I think it goes for around 500 to 700 euros in internet. But I was lucky enough to find it really, really cheap. I think I found it under 300 from Japan.
Wow.
And this story was hilarious. I was when Frosttide did their Japanese tour. I got a few days off in Tokyo, and I met a friend there, like from North America, Jeremy, and we were hunting figurines. And these 3 figures that you see here, Goku, Trunks, and Vegeta, these are really expensive because they are from the same 3-pack over here. So these 3 figurines loose can go easily like for 300 euros or something like that. But in Japan, the person who was selling them, he didn't know the value of these figurines. He thought it was just one more of the bunch. So we happened to enter a store, a second-hand store, and then we saw these 2 figures, the Trunks and the Goku. And the Trunks, my friend got it before me. We both gel at the same time, like mine, but then he apparently gelled faster. I don't know, like I didn't want to get in any fight or anything. And he got it. He got it for $7, and I got the Goku for $7 or $8. I don't know. I don't remember. While on eBay, this little guy over here sells easily for 120 to 120 between $150, so around 100 euros or something like that, 130 euros. I don't know.
Wild.
And this guy is usually like between 80 to 100 euros. So that was the funny thing. But yeah, this is the line, and from here I have some variants as well. Like they start to release like versions with gold hair. So then I have those also on display. So this line includes, I think, 42 volumes, but I only like Dragon Ball Z. I don't like Dragon Ball GT, so I just only collect the Dragon Ball Z line. But then I have like a lot of items. See if I can get more light. That they are like released around the same era. For example, these figures here with real clothing, these also were like released between 1991 and 1993. The full action pose, these were only released in Japan. So then it's just like very, very rare to find them elsewhere. So I wanted to get them. I was daydreaming about these figurines when I was a kid. So, but yeah, that was like the the start of my collecting journey. How about you? When did you start recording, like collecting?
I think it must have been around, like, my interest in nerdy things came quite young, but the actual figures didn't become a thing until I was closer to a teenager, I think. But in the of a very short handful of years, I collected an absolutely absurd number of McFarlane's action figures, mostly Spawn, but I think I had most of the dragons that had come out in those days. I got really into the Play Arts Final Fantasy figures and
Play Arts Kai are really, really nice figurines.
Yeah, and the Lord of the Rings Moonbox figures, they often had the real clothing too, and they had a lot of joint mobilization, so they were really nice. I don't have most of these anymore though, because in the end, if you ask someone in their 30s if they want to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to ship 100,000 action figures from Canada to Finland,
No.
I'm not like into Spawn. I never read Spawn. It's just McFarlane made beautiful action figures, so that's why
they do.
So I think the only things that are here, and it's not even all of them, I've still got a box of stuff. It kind of, a few things come back with me, whatever I can fit in my suitcase every time I visit. So there's a few that I've saved that were special to me. I have the original Ocarina of Time set of Ganondorf, Link, and it's young Zelda and Impa, I think, on the horses. They're pretty ugly action figures in all honesty, but they're cool because I think they were quite limited release. I'm sorry I didn't keep them in their boxes. And my very, very special little babies, I'll even scoot this so I can show you.
Yeah.
My Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, nice.
These guys are, I only actually have half of them, and I'm very sad because they're very hard to find these days. And I honestly, I haven't been looking for them because, as I said, I'm immigrant poor, but there's 2 more packs of these that have 2 more of the characters in each of them. And I'd love to someday find them.
Yeah, I used to be a huge Final Fantasy fan also when I was younger. But for some reason, maybe it was the first Final Fantasy I ever played, or that for me, the Final Fantasy VII was the Final Fantasy.
Have you played the remake at all of Final Fantasy VII?
No, because I don't have a PlayStation 4. So, but Joni from Whispered, he was really kind enough that he was playing it and streaming it through Twitch. So then I was watching while he was playing. So I loved it. It looks great, and I love the soundtrack. They keep it like they kind of upgraded the soundtrack. It sounds amazing.
So good. That soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, talking about play art figurines, I have a couple of them, but they are not related to Final Fantasy. They are mostly related to DC Comics. So I'll try to close this. So yeah, my collection kind of has revolved mostly between Saint Seiya and Dragon Ball, but also so here are more Dragon Ball stuff. Let's see if I can turn on. Okay, this for some reason doesn't allow me to turn on the flashlight, but
it looks quite clear though.
Yeah, exactly. Now as I'm heading down, let's see if we have any light going on to see. I have some Mega Man figurines as well. I don't know if you know the game Mega Man. And
absolutely.
Then, yeah, some Mortal Kombat stuff, because Mortal Kombat is the better game.
Was Scorpio the yellow one? I can never remember.
Yeah, Scorpion is the yellow one. I don't know if you can see over here how well, but
Spider.
I have that Batman over there.
Oh, that's a pretty decent Batman.
Yeah, that's from Play Archive.
Nice.
So, and then I have this one was really difficult to track, and let's see if I can see better here from here. But you have that Heath Ledger Joker.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
That's also from Play Arts.
Very cool.
Probably the best. Yeah, it's the best figurine of Joker I have seen, like for the Heath Ledger version.
Fabulous. I've never looked at their DC figures. Oh, I'm losing my mouth. I've never looked at
Yeah,
their
no worries.
figures, but those are pretty great. I like the kind of gray and the shading on the Batman.
Yeah, they look great. This is from the Arkham Asylum series, I think, from the game.
Nice. I think we
Yeah.
actually only have one Play Arts figure in Finland these days. I've only kept, I don't think I kept, sorry, I have two. I have Sephiroth because, of course,
Oh,
you don't get
that's
rid of
nice.
Sephiroth, right? But
No.
I had, in my prime, I'm trying to think which all of the Final Fantasy figures I had. I had the original Final Fantasy 12-4, which was, I think, the Judge, Von Ash, and Balthier. Was that his name? I never finished Final Fantasy 12, so I didn't.
Yeah, I got stuck between. I follow, I think, till from 7 till 10. So I think that was my. And then is that sort of from Kingdom Hearts?
This is
Kingdom
absolutely
Hearts.
technically Kingdom
Yeah.
Hearts 2, I guess, but yes.
Yeah.
So my best friend back in Canada, shout out to Ronnie. If he sees this, he's going to probably shit a brick because I never finished Final Fantasy 12, which is, I think, his
Yeah.
all-time favorite game. So I have heard great things about it, but I think I found the new battle system confusing and never ended up finishing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they're long games, the Final Fantasy games. So
I was always really bad at learning the battle systems in Final Fantasy games, though, too. So
yeah.
but Sora has been my companion for quite a while now. I think he's been in Finland for 5, 6, 7 years, and he also came to Tampere with me when I went to university. So I didn't bring a lot of stuff with me. You know, I still kept my main house in Helsinki, but yeah, he definitely joined my little box of a room for university to keep me company.
Yeah, that brings so much memories because when I moved to Finland on my own, like I never took any figures with me. I just took the keyboard. But I remember when I went to the airport, I was doing the layover in England to fly to Finland. I went to a shop, and I used to be a huge WWE or WWF fan when I was young as a kid. So then I remember that I bought this Undertaker figure.
Oh, nice.
Back in 2007, I think, when I moved to Finland permanently. So this was the only figurine I had. And I'm not a fan anymore of the WWE, of course. But I was thinking about if I let this guy go, but then I was like, nah, I'll keep it. So yeah, it has some sentimental value.
Yeah, the Kingdom Hearts ones are a little bit special to me, and I only got rid of the basic figures for Kingdom Hearts 2, which were, I guess, Kairi, Roxas, and Axel. So I didn't keep them, but I had managed to find the original 4 special forms of Sora. So it was the red Valor, blue Wisdom, yellow was intelligent form. I can never remember what it was, like Wisdom form and then Ultra form or something. Final form, I guess. And I managed to get all 4 of those, and I think even today they're pretty hard to find, and if you look on eBay or whatever, they're usually close to $100, if not over $100. It's different to tell, you know, what people list things for and what people actually pay for it in the end. So, but
yeah, some things are very overpriced. It depends really much where you look for them.
Yeah, I think I'd listed them maybe for sale a couple times, but at a ridiculous price as a set because I didn't really want to sell them. And so I think this Sora, he was always loose and his kind of pants are all scratched up now, so he's probably not really valuable to anyone but me. But The other four
Yeah.
are all in their boxes, and I think they'll make their way over here eventually. I don't think I can part with them. They're too kind of special. Kingdom Hearts 2 is one of my favorites. So
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah, those are really good games.
Mm.
Yeah, it was the same with me. I when I traveled to Chile, I always grab a bunch of figurines. So pretty much like I took my suitcase, and my suitcase was like empty when we left from Finland, and I had just few clothes with me in my backpack because we went to my parents' house. So then I will fill the entire suitcase with all the figurines that I could find from my old ones. So going back to showing some of them, I think which ones I brought with me. I brought so many. I think the most hilarious story is I have this very big Batman. It's huge. So I got this Batman back in 2005 or 4 when the Dark Knight, the first one, sorry, not the Dark Knight, but Batman Begins, the first one from Christopher Nolan, came out. So they were doing in some retail shops some promotions. If you buy this many products, then if you pay a few more bucks, then you get this Batman figurine. So my mom knew that I love Batman, so then she said like, "Oh, you can get this one." And this Batman had been sitting in my parents' room in the closet for, if I left to Finland in 2007, then, and I think I brought him back in 2012, I think. So then, or 10, I think it was 10. Yeah. So this Batman was hilarious because everybody in the airport wanted to take pictures with him, even security. So we will get like jokes, like for example, does the Batman has its own plane tickets, or
does he have his
a
own
seat
seat in first class?
Yeah, first class. I say, hey man, he doesn't need tickets. He's Batman. So this was funny to take with, and most of these figurines, the gold ones, I had to bring some of them like from home as well. Some from my Dragon Ball as well. And talking about figurines that they have been with you all the time, yeah, like for example, on this shelf, I have Peter Trunks is my favorite character in the series. So that figurine that is loose standing over there, that's my original figurine that I got in my childhood. I always wanted this figure, and it was so sought after. I never could find it until we ordered it from the US, from some shop back in 2000. And we thought that we got screwed because the figure never arrived.
Oh no.
It was like months, literally like 2 months, 3 months. And I think it took that long, and then suddenly my dad calls me, hey, by the way, we got a package from the US, like extremely late, but it is the figure. So I was at my grandmother's on the other side of the country, around maybe 1,000 kilometers distance. So I was freaking out. My dad was, yeah, we got right to our home, but no, like, baby, you have to wait that you kind of like go back home from the holidays, and then you get it. And it was like, Dad, I'm going back home like in a month. And then Dad said like, well, a friend of your brother is going to the same direction so that he can take it for you. So then I got it, and I was so happy with it. So I have always taken care of this figure.
He's had quite a travel history of his own then.
Yeah, it has been traveled everywhere. So now I have like different versions of this. So when I was talking to you about the Dragon Ball figurines, this one's the same that they were on display. Of this guy, I have like 8 different versions. So the one that you see, this one is the original Japanese release.
Nice.
One is the international release.
Okay.
That one over here is the Italian release.
Cool.
This one is the Bandai America release. So I think it is Canada/US.
Sure, yeah, probably.
Because it has the Saga Continue, and then it has the same text in French.
Oh,
so,
yeah, that's probably a Canadian version then even.
Yeah, and then Bandai, the company that made these figures, started to distribute them but under other companies. So then there was this company called Irwin Toys. So that figurine in the middle that is packed is from Irwin Toys. And in South America, these were distributed by Mattel. So then I have the Mattel version as well. So I have all the versions of this figurine I have collected through the years. Wow. And then I have it was a gift from a friend as well. And then more Trunks stuff and more Goku stuff over here.
Nice
But
balls.
here I have trunks, like Time Machine and all those different little figurines. They're classic from Japan from the 90s. These are called keshi.
Oh, cute.
You could paint those. So for example,
sure.
there's this flesh tone figurine standing there in the back behind the blue figurine. And the one next to it is the same type of figure, but a friend of mine painted.
Oh,
Painted.
nice. They did a nice job too. Looks very well.
Yeah, it looks like the real thing. So, but yeah. So this figure, it has like one of the most strong sentimental value for me as well, because that has been my body for many years.
Perfect.
Now lately I started to get in the nostalgia. When I was traveling in Japan, I found some Pokemon vintage figurines. I used to be a huge Pokemon fan. It was a short-lived phase. I think it lasted for a couple of years. But this set, we got it as a bootleg. We got it as a bootleg in Chile, and it has the same packaging. But now I bought the original Japanese version. This is, I think, from 1998.
Perfect. I also got one Pokemon from Japan when I was there. There was a bit of a bit of a bummer about this, because we were at this one store and we went there a handful of times in the 10 or so days we were in Japan. And of course I saw this little Bulbasaur and he wasn't very expensive, so I bought him up immediately. And then my friend went there the next day and there was the full 4 starter set, including Pikachu, in one package. It was barely more expensive than this guy had been alone. And so many times I went back to the store hoping it would get restocked, and it never did. So she got lucky, and it was all apparently because I bought this guy that she went looking for one too, and she managed to get all of them.
God damn it, yeah.
But
that's really
I have
nice.
my Bulbasaur.
Yeah. That's really cool. So yeah, so I started to get all the like vintage items now. So these are like the very first Pokeballs that they released, and the earlier, and I got this from Japan, this very rare like Pokemon Master set, starter set. So I think I will try to show.
Incredible.
Yeah, I think I'll try to show the gimmick of one of these, because this is like one of my favorite toys when I was a kid. I love this whole gimmick. So let's see if I can do it without breaking anything apart. Take this guy. Let's see that we don't get any accidents going on here. All right. So who will be the victim for this guy? Okay, so these Pokeballs, they look hilarious. They look like they have like a So, but the catch of this Pokeball, I cannot do it right now because you need mostly like a soft surface or carpet. But you attach this string over here and then you just like throw it to the Pokemon. And the action of this Pokeball was like, the gimmick was that you open the Pokeball, it clicks, and then you will have the set Pokemon in the surface, and then the Pokemon will hit the Pokeball, and it will go, and it is caught in the
so that was the secret in Pokemon all the time. Pokemon are actually only this big in real life.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing.
It was.
I love this toy. Yeah, I love this toy because we used to hide the Pokemons in the grass in our house, and then we would go with the Pokeballs and we would catch them, and they really work. So yeah, like the whole gimmick of like you pick up the Pokemon and the Pokeball just closes and that's it. You know, it was like really, really cool. Like trying to become Pokemon master. But I'm very
too perfect.
Huh?
If you had nice tall grass in your yard, then
yeah, we had a really cool like garden back then. So
all those Pokemon in the tall grass.
Yeah, exactly. You have to watch out for my dog's poop. Oh, that was the
accidentally catching turds in your Pokeballs.
Or just put the Pokemon on the turd, then it will have been not so nice.
Gross.
Yeah. Yeah, why does my Charmander smells like shit? I don't know. But yeah, that was like like one of my most precious like memories. So I remember that when we were in Japan as well, when same time when we were touring with Frosttide, we visited this shop called Mandarake or Mandarake, or I don't know what is the way to say it. They are specialized on selling all these vintage items. So I was looking for Dragon Ball stuff, and suddenly I saw the boxed Pokeball hidden in between the items. It was all lonely there, and it had Bulbasaur with it. And I thought that I would like to buy it, and it was extremely cheap. It was like $5. And then I said, nah, I'll pass. I won't take it. And then since then I have been regretting that I didn't take it with me. So luckily I found a seller from UK that he was selling them really, really cheap. So then I got them. So that they are. So then I have Charmander, I think I have Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and I have War Turtle. Then they're all there.
Cool.
And there's some Pirates of the Caribbean figurines as well.
I had one Pirates of the Caribbean figure once. I think which one. It was Jack Sparrow. It might have actually been from the original movie. And my friend got it for me because we had been painting a house for my parents, and I had left my pack of CDs on the hood of my car and driven away and lost all of my CDs. So he bought me the Jack Sparrow figure to cheer me up.
Compensation price.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, the Davy Jones is my favorite character from the entire series.
Ooh, nice.
Because he plays the church organ in a boat when he's emotionally hurt. And that was my first figurine, or probably the second figurine I ever got with my own money. Like as a independent adult, I bought it with my own hard-earned cash. So then it's been with me. And then the Jack Sparrow also, I got it as well immediately when I received my first payment from a show. I remember I was playing a cover trip, like as a cover band. We play a show, like a tribute show, and I got my payment from there. And then I thought that I can take my girlfriend to eat somewhere, and then I would get a Jack Sparrow figurine.
Perfect.
So yeah, I did both things. So it would have been terrible that I would just have bought the Jack Sparrow and nothing. I probably would be sleeping on the sofa or something like that.
You can treat yourself once in a while.
But yeah, in your case, are you more into the fantasy, like reading, but you don't follow many shows, for example, nowadays?
Shows are weird for me because I really like shows, but I'm very kind of picky about what I watch. So, of course, I tend to get really annoyed with things when they're disappointing, like Game of Thrones. But at the same time, I can enjoy kind of bad shows as well if I go in expecting it to be bad, because most fantasy shows these days are still pretty bad generally. So but I did enjoy at least a few seasons of Game of Thrones, and I've been finally catching up on American Gods lately, which is a Neil Gaiman book converted to TV. It's very artsy and dramatic. The director really likes his kind of slow-mo gore shots.
Okay.
It's pretty wild, but everyone's been convincing me to get into Black Mirror, and I think it's about time I start watching it one of these days.
How keen are you, like, for example, to watch animations like cartoons, or are you more into the live action series?
Well, Adventure Time is potentially one of the greatest shows ever made in the history of anything. Huge personal influence. Shout out to Pendleton Ward, man. Your beard and your stories are great. But Yeah, actually, you're right. I'm more likely to watch cartoons or kids shows than anything. As I said, Adventure Time's great. Regular Show was great, although I confess
Yeah,
I never finished the last season of it.
yeah,
Um, Over the Garden Wall, I think, was a spin-off, or like one of the writers from Adventure Time did Over the Garden Wall. It was one season, very short, but it was beautiful. And what else has been good? Oh, well, I'm a huge fan of, the original Avatar Last Airbender.
yeah.
Uh,
That's really good as
also
well. Yeah,
big fan of season 2, 3, and 4 of Legend of Korra. But and man, I heard those guys, I love them because following them, they're one of the few people I actually follow, the creators of the whole Avatar universe. They seem like such good people with such good morals, and they've always had very open and ethnic and strong female characters and all sorts of good positive representation in their work, good stories to tell. And I heard they were doing something on Netflix and that they ended up backing out. And I thought that was such a shame because if something goes on without them, it's probably just not going to be as good as it could have been. So
yeah. There may be a reason. Yeah, exactly that. Probably the direction that they were going with said show, then it was not what they are standing behind it. So then they were like, nah, we don't like this. We step out. We don't want our names there, perhaps. Yeah, I was wondering because there is this really good show called My Hero Academia. Have you ever heard about it?
this, yes.
Yeah, have you ever watched anything about that?
No, I haven't watched it, but I think I've heard quite good things about it from people who've seen it.
Yeah, my brother, for example, he's older than I. He's now 35. He's gonna be 36 this year. So I was obsessed watching this cartoon or anime called One Punch Man. It's hilarious. I love it. It's just so good. The first season was really good because it was made by a really good studio. The second season was not that good because, I mean, the manga is really good, but the animation of the second season was not that good as the first one. But still, the series was pretty good. So I was watching One Punch Man, and then my brother was telling me like, "Dude, you have to watch My Hero Academia." And I was like, "What the hell is My Hero Academia?" So I was like, "Dude, you have to watch it." It was like, "This is one of the greatest animes I ever seen. It's getting praised all over the world." And I was like, "So usually what I do, and probably it's the wrong thing to do, is that I Google the anime and then I see how the characters look like, the drawing, because I truly like this more realistic type of, or not so like kawaii or uwu type of anime. So then I see the characters and then it's like, nah, that this doesn't appeal to me in any way. It's like they look like extremely like a kids show. But my brother was insisting on, dude, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. And I started to watch. One night I was bored laying out on the sofa and I said, okay, I'm just giving it a shot. I'm gonna watch the first episode. And I think I started like at 1 a.m. watching this. And then I was hooked and I watched the entire season in one go.
Incredible.
And it was like early in the morning, although it was like somewhere like 10 a.m. or 11 when I stopped. So it was crazy, and I was obsessed with it. And then second season got even better. Then the third season got even better. The fourth season was crazy. And then the fifth season is coming like in, you see, I think it does come next week out. So looking forward to that. And the music is amazing. Just like the whole composing and the soundtrack is outstanding.
Excellent.
So yeah,
I'll definitely check that out. I've heard a lot of good things about it. So
yeah, be ready to cry. Be ready to cry. There's some episodes that I really like. There are some ninjas cutting onions usually, like on those. Who's cutting onions? So, but yeah, you should probably check that out.
Ooh. And speaking of soundtracks, I think a lot of us geeks love a good movie or video game soundtrack. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so much inspiration from those as well.
What are some of your favorites? Or if you have even like favorite composers in the video.
Well, Hans Zimmer, of course,
Who
with the
doesn't
Pirates of the
love Hans
Caribbean.
Zimmer?
Lion King as well. Already the very first Lion King.
Hmm.
I already was hooked with that. It has one of the most beautiful instrumental pieces on The Rock, the movie with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. Also, Hans Zimmer did the music for that. It was amazing. So Hans Zimmer is probably one of my favorite composers.
Oh, hey,
James Horner.
Pirates of the Caribbean alone, for sure.
Yeah.
Also,
And then
some rom-coms he's done have had really like fabulous, like lame movies, but great soundtracks.
Exactly. No, he has done so much. Of course, The Dark Knight, the Dark Knight trilogy. You know, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. It's all Hans Zimmer. It was also really good.
Mm.
But yeah, James Horner as well with Braveheart.
Oh, nice.
Titanic. A Beautiful Mind, I think is the name of the movie. I have seen it in Spanish, but he also did the music for that. So I like James Horner because Hans Zimmer is all about the like very big sound and very like symphonic, and James Horner, he took up to have like this orchestral stuff, but then he had this very synthesizer type choirs.
Mhm.
Instead of using like a real orchestra, then he wanted to have all these synthetic type of choir. So that was really cool to have that, his approach. Unfortunately, he passed away, I think, a few years ago. But yeah, and then inspiration otherwise, video game soundtracks. Like I love the Mega Man series.
Dr. or what is it? Dr. Wily from Mega Man. That's
Yeah, Dr. Wily and Dr. Light. They're like Dr. Light is the good guy. Dr. Wily is the bad guy.
yeah, Dr. Wily's theme, or is it Dr. Wily's castle? I'm not sure, but that's easily on the list of like top legendary game songs for sure.
Yeah, it's like so good stuff. Exactly. Yep, it's really good. But yeah, the Mega Man and the Mega Man X series, I like it. The Mega Man X series was really metal driven. Like, especially on the Mega Man, I think Mega Man X4 and 5. There's even a couple of songs of that game that reminded me of Children of Bodom. But I don't know if Alexi got inspiration from those games as well, because rest in peace, Alexi Laiho. I apparently, when he was younger, he was into video games. So I don't know, like when I hear Follow the Reaper, for example, there's so much stuff that it sounds like very Mega Man-y. So I don't know if he ever played Mega Man, but at least composing wise, sounds like he has taken inspiration from that.
Absolutely. I never thought about that, but I'm gonna have to go back to listen to some songs. And
yeah, in the earlier albums, I think like the first 4. But of course, Something Wild and Hate Breather, they're not so much. But in Follow the Reaper and Hate You Death Roll, those ones, there's a lot of this kind of like almost video gamey like melodies, I would say, especially Follow the Reaper. I think Follow the Reaper has the most of them. The album, the blue one, the blue album.
Well, as a keyboardist, do you ever play around with chip tunes or anything like that?
With what tunes?
Chip tunes, like synth sounds and old, like you'd get from the Atari or Nintendo or stuff like that.
Yeah. Sometimes I fool around with those, but that used to be on the earlier days. Nowadays, I just try to. I'm so like symphonically driven with the compositions that I usually use string sounds or choirs. But sometimes if I find like a funny lead sound that reminds me like a 8-bit game, then yeah, definitely I go with the. But I don't remember. I haven't had the. I used to fool around. I used to learn a lot of like video game soundtracks, but of course I don't remember them anymore. But a lot of Mega Man, a lot of like Dragon Ball had really cool. The games, they have really cool soundtracks that they're based on the original songs as well, and they're really metal driven as well. Like all Japanese music, like all the Japanese video game music and anime music is so metal. it was hilarious when we were in Japan. We were hearing more metal in Japan than in Finland. That level.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like you will go to arcade game place, and suddenly you will just be listening this really cool like shredding and guitars and double bass, and they will have a woman singing, and of course the singing of the woman was very melodically and light, but otherwise like the music was like heavy as hell.
Incredible.
It was like wow. And then you will go to a restaurant, and the music that is playing is also like this kind of like fast-paced Japanese music and guitar solos and leads, and it was like everywhere. It was like it's insane. It was like so much metal. And then when I think about it, when I listen to the Dragon Ball soundtracks, or Saint Seiya, or Mega Man, or this kind of like, they're really, really like metal oriented. It's a beautiful blend between metal and classical music. That is really melancholic. Final Fantasy, for example, as well, the soundtrack, the battle theme is amazing for the Final Fantasy VII.
Hey, pick any Final Fantasy and tell me the soundtrack is bad. I'm sure you can.
Yeah, exactly. I dare you. I double dare you.
So one thing I noticed kind of specifically about two bands, and this is interesting also because you were at least adjacent to both of these bands, because they are Frosttide and Fintroll. And
yeah.
I think you two have some of the most genuinely cinematic music coming out of Finland, at least in the kind of pagan folk area, because both of you as bands have like the new Fintroll album. Listen to that intro and outro and tell me that that's not from a movie.
Yeah, but Henry is very inspired by the World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Always. So Fintroll has always had, if you listen to the previous albums, Niflheim, I'm totally going to butcher this name, but it's like Uppjordens Djup is the one with the black cover, which has a boat.
Yeah.
The intros are so cinematic. It's like it's taken from Conan movie or something like that, you know, World of Warcraft.
Absolutely.
And all these kind of fantasy games. It's amazing. And Monkey Island a lot in Fintroll.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things he's ever composed that's not really well known, and if this goes on YouTube, I'll link this somewhere, but it can be found under Shrouded in Bloody Tales. And
yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces. Yeah, he did like a...
Who published it on YouTube? No?
Mikael published it, the guitarist from Rota from Fintroll. He published it on his own channel.
Yeah, it's so...
I think Henry published it in SoundCloud. I think it's published there.
Yeah, but I guess it's kind of a cinematization of existing... Was it an album? Was it Bloodsvept, or
Yeah, it is Bluesbed album. He did like a medley of all the songs, and in a cinematic fashion.
It's really incredible. If you haven't heard it, absolutely check it out.
Yeah, to everybody, please check it out. I'm in love with that medley. I had it as my wake up alarm for maybe more than a year.
Yeah. Absolutely, like really loving to see this cinematic sound come in, and it really goes to show kind of how people who have had these geeky histories like really put that into a lot of their music sometimes as well. Like, you know, a lot of nerds and, you know, fantasy geeks and stuff like that, we've all gotten a bad rap over the years. We're nerds, we're not cool, but listen to some of the music that these nerds put out and tell me that these people aren't cool.
But yeah, that's like the interesting thing, because many of like musicians in metal genre, they are like all geeks. You know, like many of them, they have been geeks when they were younger, and you know, they were bullied or something like that, and they get inspiration to create music from that, you know, to put their feelings. Myself, for example, I was bullied a lot when I was younger for same reasons, but I enjoyed video games, I enjoy anime, and then everybody was like, yeah, but you're a geek, you're a nerd, you're like, and suddenly I started to like music, and then I started to infuse that in music, and I became a musician in that sense. And I know many people as well that have the same vein. Not everybody, but many people enjoy. They come from this pop culture, geek pop culture background, and then they jump into music, into metal music. So it's like, for many, it's like the combination of like both worlds. You know, you have had a hard time in life, and then you express your feelings into the music, and that music has come from the video games or stuff like that. Again, I'm not talking about of everyone involved in the metal business, but I have met many. It's surprising how many people I have met that they all have been geeks and suddenly they become metal musicians.
Yeah, I think there's something very similar in the excuse me, in the things that attract people to metal culture as well as geek culture. You know, it's often a lot of people who have been bullied or maybe didn't have a lot of friends, were kind of lonely, couldn't like, or they were interested in stuff that other people didn't think was cool, and being cool was so important back in youth. You think about it, you know, when you're almost 35 at my age, and it seems so stupid now, but when you're young, these things are so important. And so when you go home, you lose yourself in your movies or your video games or your books or your keyboard or your guitar or singing or something, or all of the above, you know. And it's such a great outlet, and then you find these ways to express yourself outwardly. You know, you can have geek clothing, you can have metal clothing, you can have,
yeah, exactly.
Really, it's so easy to cross them over.
Well, exactly. It's like if you think about like many metal acts, how their clothing is based on stage, it's like mixture of this fantasy slash kind of like rawness. It's like mixing the geek and the rock world together. You know,
I'd say especially if you're a band that really likes dressing up and, you know, big visuals. I don't know if you've ever heard Power Glove, for example.
Yeah, I love Power Glove. Yeah, they're great.
Well, I mean, they're a pretty extreme example, of course, but
they're funny. They're really good.
They've pretty much got "We're Geeks" stamped very big neon all over everything.
But if you think about, for example, Dragon Force, the whole stage persona and the whole stage setup is like revolving video games.
Absolutely.
They have the arcade machines, like for example stands where they play and you know, like they enjoy, like I've seen watching Herman Lee's streams in Twitch, and they are really good, and sometimes they make these composed songs about this like this, let's try to make a Nightwish song, let's try to make a Sabaton song.
Oh,
so then,
heard these.
Yeah, so then there's Sam as well, and then in Sam's camp you can see a lot of pinball machines in the background, you know.
Yeah.
So it is like that, you know. I think many people come from that background, you know, that they have enjoyed video games, and they, of course, greater composers, they don't get, like, you have to get inspiration from somewhere. Of course, sadly, it comes from sorrow or from anger from previous times. And I think for many musicians, it has been that way. But at least personally for me, I was a bit of an outcast because I didn't like the things that were trendy at the time for other people. And I just enjoy myself in this little world that I have, like surrounded by video games. And I play sports, but I was like mostly video games and reading manga or watching anime, you know. And I really gravitated towards that. because it was like my escape from the real world. All these kind of problems and all these kind of like persons that they bully you without a reason because you're just different in a sense that you may be more prone to liking music, and then they say, oh no, you're not like us, so screw you, you're bad. And then that was the escape that I had from that reality. And I was like welcoming that world, and then suddenly like it just evolved in that sense that I started to find my place, and then suddenly I got into music, and then I started to play that type of music, and then suddenly I went into metal music, and then I realized that there were many similarities, the melodies, and then suddenly I became a metal musician, and then it was like I met the same kind of people, and mostly the people that I used to play with in my country that we do tribute bands or stuff like that, they were geeks. They were all guys, like they were guys who like mathematics and they like physics, and I also was really into mathematics and biology and chemistry. Also was another thing why I was bullied. I got good grades at school, and they were like, "Yeah, no, you're a nerd. You collect action figures. You play video games, and you get good grades." I was like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong with that?" You know, but apparently you had to be a badass in school. You had to do extreme stuff and go and ride skateboards and ride bikes and hang around and be in parties and like
be shitty to other people.
I didn't gravitate towards that. It's okay if people want to do that. Like everybody can do their own thing, but let the other ones be. So when I met the other guys, when we did a Sonata Arctica tribute band, for example, or Stratovarius, or a band that put both together, or we had the Children of Bodom tribute band back in Chile in 2003, 2004, all the persons that were there, we all love anime, we all love video games, and we all were into physics and chemistry and biology. There would be one guy who was into history, usually the singer, who was usually like, yeah, I like, I'm more into history, but he was all into like the past, like history of like Rome and Greece, like all this like kind of like how the empire grew and expanded, or medieval times. So everything had a relationship to that. So we were all into it, and suddenly we all became like metal musicians. So we embraced that. So that was particularly my case. That so I'm very thankful about, and that's the reason I have this wall of plastic here in the back, because it is like, it reminds me of those good times, as I said before, and it has a huge influence on how like the music comes out. Of course, things evolve and you get into other interests and other types of things, but this is kind of like summarizes the entire bubble that I used to have, and I still have nowadays. Source of inspiration.
Yeah. And it's great still that as an adult you can kind of go back to these things that comforted you, and even life certainly doesn't get any easier as you get older, but it's nice that these things do still kind of have that power to spark some joy with you, just to stop and look around this room and like, this is my nest, this is my safe place, like this is a place that's fully expressed to me and like what inspires me, and it's oddly comforting at times.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. It is the things that bring you joy in life. Of course, everybody finds it in a way or others. Some people like traveling.
Yeah.
And some people like working out, and some people like taking pictures. Everybody finds their own way to find their peace, like something that relaxes them. In our case, I think we find it on kind of like things that remind us of positive things. As cliche as it sounds, when you watch a series, you gravitate towards some series of action film, live action films, or drama, or fantasy, as well as, for example, you read manga, you read comic books, or you watch anime. And the main goal is always that when you put in the vision of the protagonist, you, even in video games, you somehow relate to it, and you, in books, for example, it may be very easy that you kind of become the protagonist, and then you start to live these difficult moments, but then you always kind of succeed, and you always go forward. You always go up. You always have these challenges that they come to you. They say in Dragon Ball, of course, it's very straightforward. Bad guy comes to the Earth, we fight, we kill the bad guy, then Earth is safe, and then another stronger bad guy comes, and then we fight again. So it's like, and then they yell for 10 minutes in the screen to each other before they fight. Nobody throws a punch, everybody's yelling, and but out of the joke is like there is much more to it. It's like, yes, you get the challenge, you prepare yourself, and then you prepare to overcome. And I think that is the feeling that is evoked when you have grown up with that, and you gravitated towards the series. Then that reminds that, evokes that great feeling that sometimes we have like bad moments in life. Then it's like, yeah, but even though there is something fictional, somebody may think of it. Yeah, but Superman, he always wins, and he always like gets forward, and Batman got his parents killed, and he's in sorrow, but he battles it by, like moving forward and defeating evil or whatever. So you always find this kind of like motion it brings you like, yeah, you can do things, or you can. So I think that is the takeaway when you somehow, as a geek, when you think like, why do you play video games? Why do you watch series? Why do you watch anime? Then it's like, well, the story, the plot is uplifting. It has sad things, it has things of tension, stressing things, but suddenly like everything turns out all right, and that's the takeaway from it, that when you take it for life, then it's like, yeah, we have bad moments, we have stressful moments, but at the end of the day, if we don't need to give up, we just need to keep going, and it will turn out better, it will become better.
Yeah.
And that is reflected also on this collection that I have, that along the years, since I already was like 6 to 7 years old, I started collecting, and many of these items are since then that I have had since, like, I brought them from my country to here, so they have their own story. It probably will be the entire day here if I start talking about each particular item, but those remind me of the hard times I have had myself. Of course, I said that childhood was nice. Yes, it was nice. It was very nice when it was then, but that doesn't mean that passing from didn't bring difficult moments. We all surrounded. We all have difficult moments in life, and for me, these figurines were like kind of my escapism. It was like these were like when I had a rough day at school, that I have been bullied, and everything was like, I was pissed, I was frustrated. Then I would enter my room at home, and I would have these guys waiting for me. It was like, I will just like forget about everything, and I will just put music to play, and I will enjoy my time playing with my figurines, and then somehow play keyboards when I was younger and thinking about becoming a metal musician. And
yeah,
and then here we are.
Yeah.
How did it go? I don't know.
There's really something, I think, these Dragon Ball Z kind of stories where it's just bad guy comes, beats you up, you get stronger, beat him up, next bad guy comes, beats you up, you get stronger, overcome him. Of course, it's repetitive, and as stories, it's not very maybe interesting or unique, but there's something just kind of that gives you hope in that, because it really reflects real life in a weird way, because as you grow up and get older, the world will keep chucking something new and hard for you to deal with, and what can you do but get stronger and overcome it? That's just life. So it's maybe not great storytelling, but it does teach you as a kid that just get stronger and overcome, just don't give up, and in that itself is great.
And for example, what I mean is that there are ways how you can see it, but for example, in the case of Dragon Ball, like in the the outside viewer, the plot sounds mostly like that. Yes, like bad guy comes, you beat him up. The stronger bad guy comes, then you beat him up.
Yeah.
But in the reality, is like, for example, the character development, which is not the greatest one, but especially like in the earlier sagas of Dragon Ball, like the actual original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z saga, which I gravitate towards the most. Goku, the main character, he had bad guys like he had to defeat, and the funny thing is that Goku never killed anybody. Like there's okay, some people will tell me like, yeah, well, he killed this bad guy, but actually the guy didn't die.
Yeah.
And actually, but
just punched him so hard.
Yeah, most of the, well, actually he actually did kill one guy, but he also reincarnated. But anyways, the funny thing is that most of the enemies he fought, they, at the end of the day, they became his allies.
Yeah, like Vegeta, right?
Vegeta, exactly, Vegeta, Piccolo, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so then it's like, and there are other ones that they have become as well. Tenshin Han from the original Dragon Ball. Tenshin Han used to be like the enemy, and in the end they became friends. You know.
Yeah.
So then it is Lord Beerus now in the first, like in the new sagas of Dragon Ball Super, is the same story. Like Lord Beerus came to destroy the Earth, like because he didn't like it, the god of destruction, and then fought Goku, and then they became friends, and and blah blah blah. So you know, that is the thing, that there are ways how you need to see life. Is that, yeah, I mean, I could be an asshole, just like beat anyone that I don't agree with.
It's
but actually in Dragon Ball it was like mostly like no, it was this certain analyze, and Goku always tried to see the good in the enemy.
Yeah.
You know, like if he fought Vegeta, then it was like when he beat the shit out of that guy, he was like going back to his spot to escape. Then Krillin was going to kill him, and then Goku said, "No, let him go." You know.
Yeah.
There will be another time for that. You know, like let's spare him. He may change his heart, and you know, it goes like that. So those kind of teachings were in my life.
Yeah.
You can be strong. You can be strong, and you can be humble, and you can be friendly. You know,
you could be friends with your enemies someday.
Yeah, exactly. And technically, people that you didn't get along with in the past, then you get along nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, because
that's
give them a chance. Give them a chance. You know.
So true, and such a good message as well. And I'll throw back to, I mentioned before, Avatar: Legend of Korra. Excuse me. And not to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but I will say the last season of that show was really deep and beautiful, because it's basically like the arc of that for Korra as a character is that she's always been someone who's basically punched her way through her problems. And at the end of season 3, something happens to her that she couldn't control or punch her way through, and it really, really affects her. And so it kind of, again, not going into spoilers too much, but it does ultimately end not with her punching her enemy into pieces, but with a conversation. And
yeah, exactly.
It's really like empathy that wins the fight at the end of the day, not strength, or maybe the strength of the empathy that is correctly said. It is like you need to be strong to understand. You need to be strong to kind of like be strong enough to kind of communicate. Not everything is resolved by just like violence or bringing the other person down. You know, it's just you can level up and try to fix things by communicating. Yeah, absolutely. That's
how it goes in actual life. You know, like the way of being empathic and listen, and the other person also listens as well. Then it brings balance. You know. If you have a relationship that you have like a person that is like, this person is giving too much, you know, and the other one is not. Like this person is not giving almost anything, and this person is giving a lot to the relationship.
Yeah.
This way is just to balance it, you know, like then you communicate, and then this person who is giving a lot, then he starts to give less, while the other person gives a little bit more, and then everything becomes balanced.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that is the kind of the message that we get, you know. Of course, not every discussion, not every argument ends in a happy note,
Of course.
but at least you try, you know. You don't need to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
If you disagree with someone, you can always try to talk it out and try to listen. But I think that is the takeaway from mostly all the geek stuff I ever seen.
Yeah.
Of course, if you got a more deep eye, then everybody says like, yeah, Batman has mommy and daddy issues. Yeah, well, he does, but at least he's doing something about it, you know.
There you go. Exactly. Batman is
Instead of
a form of self-therapy.
Yeah, exactly. I have frustrations. I didn't have a parents in my childhood, but I'll beat up the guys who killed my parents. Like, so I'll fight crime because that took away my parents. You know, then it's like, that works for you, great. Cities and peace, and you get to beat people. Then, it's all right, you know. But it really depends. Like, nothing is perfect, of course, and but I think in that sense, that's how it shaped us. Everybody finds something that you gravitate towards with, and for at least for me, it has been that kind of like the geek life, the animes, video games, manga. That has been kind of my way to help me to understand the world. And people was like, "How the hell you can understand it from that?" But actually, it does when you think in a little bit more deep way.
Yeah.
What is the story and the development of the characters, and you somehow reflect yourself into that. And I think many stories and many video games are made that way, that you kind of somehow you can relate to the main character. And going back to this, one of the animes that they have done really well is My Hero Academia, at least on the first season. I think is very well done. It really hits hard for anybody who watched it. That you will relate to that. Oh man, I've been there. You know, I feel for this guy. I know what he's going like, or I can imagine what he's going through because I went through something similar. Even though there is a fictional character, he's like, yeah, but okay, this is something similar that I have went through. How does he overcome it? And then you can take away from that. You know, it's an interesting way that how many like cartoons or shows that are intended for kids actually have so much deep meaning.
Yeah, it's true.
It translates into adulthood.
Absolutely.
So, technically, Dragon Ball, the meaning is like you can be strong, but you can be good. You know, be nice to people, be a good friend, be gentle, but when the bad people comes in, then you are strong enough to fight that.
Yeah.
So
be strong. Be Goku. Goku's never.
Be Goku. Eat a shitload of food and then die of a heart attack.
That's.
But, yeah, no.
You know, I just realized how similar he and Luffy are from One Piece.
One Piece. Yeah, but that's the reason there's a lot of influence. There's a lot of influence from Luffy in One Piece, yeah.
Definitely. Actually, Luffy's the name of one of my cats. All of my cats have geek names.
Yeah, because he stretched too much, the cat.
He always used to yell for food when he was young.
Yeah.
He was really hungry. Of course, my cat is not nearly adventurous enough to be Luffy, but
yeah, exactly.
He's also not even close to the captain of this ship, so.
But yeah, that's everything I have to say about that. Like Forrest Gump was once said regarding the geek life, how it revolves around music and everything else.
Absolutely. So for the road, as we start to wind this up, I suppose you've got a baby waking up pretty soon. So
yeah, actually she woke up already, so I think I have to take my daddy duty right now and see how she's doing.
Well, shoot me some of your all-time favorites, games, animes, soundtracks, whatever, any nerdy things, just some of your all-time favorites, things you can't live without.
Resident Evil trilogy games for PlayStation 1, that's a must. Especially for me, close to heart is the Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the original from '99. The remake was such a letdown, unfortunately. What else? Now, of course, the Dragon Ball series until Buu Saga. That's all for me. Soundtracks. Well, the original Dragon Ball soundtracks are really good. I really like them. Mega Man games, of course, the games themselves and the soundtracks, I love them. And yeah, Dragon Ball Saint Seiya, the series and the soundtrack is also amazing from Saint Seiya. Oh man, it would be the entire day if I start to think about this, but I think I will leave it up there. Soundtracks again, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first three. The soundtrack is awesome. Dark Knight trilogy, I love it. Braveheart soundtrack, as I mentioned before, and Titanic, very good ones. Yeah, that will be it. I think.
All right, and then my final question. You can't. Well, there's one answer you can't give me to this, but to ask first, is there anyone around here that you think that you could out as a geek who might enjoy having one of these chats? And you can't say Yoni from Whispered because Silver Bullet already outed him as a geek. So
yeah, Emil from well, he plays in Unburied Dawn. Emil Tobias Pohjalainen. Amazing guitarist, such a nice guy.
And a geek.
He apparently, I knew that he was into geek stuff, but once I published a picture of my wall of plastic over here, and he was like so excited about it. He was like, dude, I didn't know you were into this kind of things. And I think as well he's a huge Mega Man fan. So yeah, Emil Tobias Pohjalainen. Then you should probably check him out, ask him out. If I can give another name as well, but I don't know. He hasn't been involved much in the metal community, but he's awesome guitarist and singer. Tapani Kangas. He used to play in this band called Celesti.
Okay.
It was fantasy metal. He loves Ghostbusters and all like these kind of like more Western type of action series and like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that.
Very cool. And you have an Instagram account for your collection there. If people want to have a look at it, you want to shout that out?
yeah. I tend to keep it like a little bit anonymous, but I think already this has been I have revealed myself that I have this obsession with PVC. So yeah, it's FM Collection SBC. I think you can write it down somewhere in this interview.
I'll link it in the bottom somewhere down there.
Yeah, then you can get the latest updates of Plastic World. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say. Thank you for having me here. It was a really fun conversation.
Thanks so much for doing this. This was great. Love talking to you always. And hey, maybe we'll do it again someday. Definitely, let's do it again. Take care. Stay safe. You too. Thanks. Yeah, bye. Bye-bye.